Hey gang, John O'Brien here, Jamestown Community College, History 1510, State University of New York, and we are here with Chapter 14 today and some announcements. Please keep up with current events. We need to connect history to the present, and of course there's a lot going on. So keep up with current events. Sometimes it's a bit overwhelming, but keep up with the news sources that are valid, legitimate, that utilize science and mathematics, all right, so we can understand what's happening today. Not good news if medical supplies are running low. What can you do? Look, we're all sacrificing right now. We're all really sequestered. We're all under quarantine. Stay healthy. You stay healthy by staying away from other people, right? So do that. Stay out of the public. Wash your hands if you need to go out in the public. They're saying now that wearing a mask, even if one that you kind of make for yourself, it's not foolproof, but it can do some good. So continue to stay healthy out there. Focus on the current events. I know it can be a bit depressing, and we need to take a break. Something that's not depressing, History 1510, right? Make sure that your email is connected to the announcements section of our course on Blackboard. Announcements is where I'm posting a lot of stuff, and it should be emailed to you. So check your spam filter. Make sure this stuff is not spammed out. Right? Announcements. Okay. Everybody's on Netflix except me, so apparently a little slowdown in the internet. So what's the announcements recently? Links to chapter 14, part 1 and part 2. It's just too much data to put into one link. So probably don't want to watch it all at once anyway. So watch it in parts. More importantly, I guess, exam for unit number 3, that's the current unit, has now been posted, and it's due on Wednesday, April 1st. No April Fool's joke there. So please complete the test in chapters 11, 12, and 13. Originally, it would have included chapter 14, and originally it would have been a bit earlier, but due to the transition to online learning, both for myself and for you, I've extended that a bit. So I put this out there on Thursday. It's due Wednesday, so you have almost a week to do it. Now your time is running a bit short. There are being 3 essays, 1 essay from chapter 11, 1 from 12, 1 from 13. Chapter 14, as I said, was pushed into the next unit. That's today's lecture, by the way. You may use your textbook, you may use your notes from these lectures, and that's it. Okay, so don't rely on your roommate, don't borrow his or her essay, don't go to Wikipedia. As you submit your essays through Blackboard, it'll be run through an algorithm that will check for plagiarism. That means how much of your essay overlaps someone else's. If it overlaps in more than 10%, I can't give you any credit. So please do your own work, okay? Please be patient and do your own work. Where do you find this set exam? Well, in the content section, let's go to the student view. And you might have to wait a little bit. Wait a bit longer. You'll see 3 questions, okay? And you might need to wait a little bit longer, okay? I have a gray wheel here spinning around and around and around. I know I said for your groups, hey, do your stuff, when we were back together in class, do your stuff on Google because it's more reliable. You might lose your flash drive. I guess I'm fortunate that I have all of our lectures on flash drive, so even if the internet fails, I can still do this and eventually get it out to you. Okay, so let's look at content. It's very slow internet today. All of my neighbors must be on Netflix, but not I. Here we are. Okay. So at the bottom, I'm assuming the bottom of your content too, there's the test 3, spring 2020. That's where we are. 3 questions. I'm going to use up all my data just here. Okay. So answer the following questions. I put the questions right in the instructions, so you can kind of do these maybe in Microsoft Word and then cut and paste them into Blackboard. Okay? Once you start, you've started. Okay, it won't let you stop and go back later. Okay, so 3 questions right there in the directions. Work on them, and then I would put them into Microsoft Word and then cut and paste them into Blackboard. Yes, I don't know what that was. What were the causes of the decline of the Roman Republic? Not the empire, the Republic, all right? And the rise of the Roman Empire. So we're looking to the years, right around 27 BCE, all right? Put your answer, ideally, you cut and paste it into there, and then don't submit until you do question 2. Roman Empire, all right, following Augustus, greatest achievements, compare them to Han China, the contemporaneous empire of East Asia. Look at each empire's greatest achievements. Then finally, China centralized after a period of breakdown under the Sui, Tang, and Song dynasties, and again, the greatest achievements, and also weaknesses of each of those dynasties, right? Then you would save and submit. I'm going to get a 0 on my own exam, but there you go. Okay, that kind of helps the mean, the average for the course, right? All right. Today's lecture, again, we'll do it in a couple parts. Come back up. The expansive realm of Islam. This will be on the 4th exam, all right? So you can watch this when you want. I guess my recommendation to you would be just do the 3rd exam and then watch this later, okay? This will not help you on the 3rd exam. 4th exam, yes, right? So the expansive realm of Islam. What's a realm? Realm is a geographic term. Geographers use it for wide expansive territory. Okay? We're going to see how Islam, a new religion, arose in the early 7th century here in Mecca, became kind of consolidated in Medina, or what had been called Yathrib, we'll call it Medina, and then would encompass most of Arabia, push into the Sassanid Empire, take chunks away from the Byzantine Empire, and stretch, right, eastward through Asia and across North Africa into what is now Spain. So again, in the online lectures, I speak a bit more quickly than I would in class because I don't see you guys. I don't see anyone looking like they don't understand things. I don't slow down. We're not discussing things here, but you should be discussing them on Blackboard, okay, discussion board. I have gotten a couple emails that one or two of them was not working. I'm checking with our IT people on campus to make sure we get those Blackboard discussion forums opened up for all of you. So just email me if they're not working, okay? They are always working for me, of course, I'm the administrator, but not necessarily for you. So, a new faith, Islam, arose in the 7th century Arabia, okay, or the Arabian Peninsula. Islam means submission. It comes from the Arabic word salam, related to the Arabic word salam, which is, Arabic is a Semitic language related to Hebrew. So if you've ever heard the word shalom, that means peace in Hebrew. Salam means peace in Arabic. So the very word Islam comes from the root word for peace. Okay, like the peace of God be with you. Right? One who submits to God's will, finds the peace through submission to God's will, is a Muslim. Okay? So Muslim is the person, Islam is the faith. It will spread from Arabia, okay, which was inhabited by nomadic people moving around for the most part, kin groups, people related to one another. The religion will become connected through trade routes. Okay? Think of people in caravan trade spreading the faith, okay? From one town, one village, one encampment to another. Okay? So kind of we have the version of the 7th century internet, right here. Kind of low band speed, this camel and this fellow here, but trading in networks throughout Arabia and beyond. The religion will also spread through sea lanes, right? As we see in our map here. It's not from your textbook, right? Because Arab traders not only engage in overland trade, but also seaborne trade. Mecca will be at the crossroads, right? So Mecca, right here, kind of where a number of these both sea lanes close by and overland routes came together. Okay? As the faith expanded, it absorbed new ideas, and we have this large empire of the faithful. It doesn't mean that everyone living under Muslim rule is Muslim, right? Under the Ummah, the Islamic community, not everyone will be Muslim. There'll be a number of Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, and others. Okay? But this society will play a major role in this post-classical era, from especially the first half of it, from about the year 500, soon to be, all right? Let's say from the year 610 until the year 1000. Okay? This post-classical era. So Arabia, prior to Islam, would be characterized by disunity, right? A lack of connection. Language and trade connected the people, but it was not one kingdom. In many ways, it was tribal society, people living on the harsh desert land. In some places, there were settlements, there were towns. Okay? But there was a lack of cultural, political, social unity. Okay? Economically and through language, and also through the expression of language through poetry, there was some connection. Into this world, about the year 570, right? Circa 570, Muhammad was born. we think, okay, as with other religious founders, we don't have the birth certificate, we don't have all the primary sources we like, but according to tradition, according to the faithful, Muhammad was born about the year 570, will die in the year 632. He was born in Mecca, he was orphaned as a child, he was cared for by the wider kin group, especially his uncle. Okay? So here we have a birth narrative where a boy is orphaned at a very young age, and raised by really the community. Right? Became a merchant as a young man, very adept apparently in trade, trading with people from Arabia and probably beyond, probably with Christians, probably with Jews, probably in Persia, probably with people of the Byzantine Empire, or I should say peoples of the Byzantine Empire. Okay? Married a woman who was actually his boss for a while, Khadija, who was an elder woman who had financial security, and now Muhammad has financial security. He's successful in business. Okay? He's living in a society that's experiencing great social change, however, in the 600s or the 7th century. Wars taking place in the north between the Sassanid Persians and the Byzantines. So instead of trading through a war zone, much of the trade is diverted southward into Arabia. More money brought social change. Trade caravans through Arabia brought social change, right? There's great wealth coming in, and not all of that wealth was wisely used or perhaps ethically used, right? So Muhammad and Muslims would charge that wealthy people used their wealth, or at least many of them, for unsavory purposes, okay? So the rise of vice, gambling, the abuse of alcohol, prostitution, okay, corruption, these types of things. That apparently bothered this sensitive businessman himself, Muhammad. Okay? Muhammad, who had had contact with, again, Jews, Christians, and remember Zoroastrians. Zoroastrianism was still a large faith within the Persian Empire. In the year 610, we are told, okay, by Muslims, that Muhammad experienced visions, that around the year 40 years old, he's troubled by the changes he sees to his society, he's troubled by the vice, he's troubled by wealthy people flaunting their wealth while poor people suffered. Okay, so he's a very sensitive man. He goes on to a retreat. Some of you are kind of familiar with religious retreats. He goes on to a retreat by himself outside of Mecca, whereupon in the year 610, Muslims believe he's visited by the angel Gabriel. And if you think, I know who Gabriel is, I've heard of Gabriel. Who's Gabriel? Gabriel was the messenger in the Christian tradition to Mary of Nazareth, okay, God's messenger. The same angel, well, yeah, I mean, according to Muslims, I can't be there to verify it, but this messenger of God. Same angel that spoke to Mary from God, telling her she would bear the Christ child. Yes, according to Muslims, right? So Gabriel. Muhammad apparently says, is visited by this angel, feels like he's hugged and lifted off the ground by this presence that tells him to speak. Muhammad says, basically, I'm a businessman, I'm not an orator, I'm not a speaker, and he feels like he's being hugged to death, and out of his mouth come the words, Ila Allah Allah, right? Which sounds better in Arabic than in English, right? There is no God but the God. Al, the, La, God. Okay? There's no God but the God. A very poetic language, Arabic, by the way. Basically, he goes back home, tells his wife, I'm not sure what happened to me. I'm not feeling so well after this experience. And basically, she comes to believe him. And I believe one of her cousins who had familiarity with Christianity said, yes, this must have been the angel Gabriel. Okay? He begins to attract followers, especially the poor, because he begins to attack verbally the vice, the wealth, the corruption of the upper class, okay, the Quraysh clan, the people who basically controlled Mecca, the brothels, the hotels, who were making money in the restaurants and essentially bars, right? We're making money on this caravan trade and not taking care of their poorer brethren, like orphaned children, okay, and not being taken care of. For the rest of his life, Muhammad will continue to receive revelations, we are told. Right? These are written down by his followers, basically on scraps. Again, this is the historical or the historian's interpretation. Generally, when the followers heard Muhammad, they're like, well, why would we write anything down? He'll always be with us. Well, Muhammad dies of natural causes in 632. And then the followers have to put together what he had said. Okay, from scraps they've written down or memory, they put together the Quran, the holy book of Islam. Later on, centuries later, we'll get essentially a biography called the Hadith, okay, the tradition of Muhammad's life, his deeds and sayings, kind of a what would Muhammad do book, okay? Not to make light of it. His teaching in Mecca, attacking the wealthy for being selfish, is basically an attack on polytheism. Okay? There's no God but the God. Well, Mecca was making a lot of money because it held shrines to the many gods of Arabia. Each clan had its own kind of token deities. And if you went to the Kaaba, the central place in Mecca, where a black meteorite had crashed to earth long, long before, but through oral history, people still remembered it, right? This black, gigantic rock that came from beyond the atmosphere would have been like a nuclear explosion entering the atmosphere. And people remembered that. This was a sign of God's power. And shrines, totems, statues would be put around this black stone, and people would come to worship. It was also a place where, the Hatfields and McCoys, these clans who had been fighting, would go to the Kaaba stone and work out their differences. So the fact that this was really a center of pilgrimage for all the clans of Arabia for their family deities, right, their clan gods, was another way the upper class of Mecca made money. And if Muhammad is attacking these gods, they're not going to make the money, right? Muhammad is seen as a troublemaker. He denounces their greed, this idolatry. The ruling elite see him as an economic threat, and he'll be persecuted. Okay? Especially once his powerful uncle dies. Uncle had protected him, his uncle passes on, and now the upper class is out to get Muhammad. How dare you attack us for our wealth? How dare you attack this money-making shrine of many gods, right? Muhammad flees northward to, we'll call it Medina. It was called Yathrib at the time. He's invited there by this other town. There weren't a lot of towns in Arabia, so the few they had were important. And in Medina, there were essentially two groups at war with one another. Right? And like, what are we going to do? We're destroying ourselves. We're destroying our city. We're destroying trade. What do? Well, let's bring in a neutral arbiter. Let's bring in this outside guy. He has some fame down there in Mecca. The wealthy class of Mecca don't like him, so he must be good, right? Because we don't like that upper class either. Let's invite him up here to be a judge. And essentially, Muhammad goes northward with some of his followers and puts an end to the conflict. He's a neutral outsider, right, an arbiter, and becomes both the political and religious leader of Medina. Many people, not all, convert to Islam. So he becomes what we didn't see in early Christianity, frankly, all right? Where Jesus might have said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? What to God what is God's. Muhammad has to be both a political and religious leader, one and the same. His town will be attacked by his old hometown, right? The trading caravans, the wealthy class of Mecca will attack Medina, and to turn the other cheek would mean that Medina would have been wiped out. Smaller in number, has fewer soldiers, etc. So Muhammad will actually lead his people in battle against the leaders of his old hometown. Battles that he actually will win that will impress a lot of the other groups within Arabia. Like, maybe this guy is onto something. How can he, a smaller force, defeat the larger force of Mecca, which was the greatest in the land? He also gained followers by focusing on almsgiving or charity, giving to the less fortunate, orphans, right? Orphans, widows, the poor, okay? Here again we see this kind of Abrahamic tradition of render unto others, do unto others, to whom much is expected. How do we phrase that now? Maybe just pause for a moment, right? To whom much is given, much is expected, okay? To whom much is given, much is expected, right? So he'll defend his people. Muhammad's tribe, his tribesmen, will actually defeat Mecca, and instead of killing everyone in Mecca, as was kind of the norm in medieval warfare, apparently Muhammad's forces enter Mecca and only destroy the tribal spirits, only destroy the idols, the statues, the genies, okay? They rededicate the Kaaba stone to Allah, and it will become the site for Muslim pilgrimage. Okay? So pagan sites are